A cry for help as a local factory searches for a new owner to keep from closing.
Why Homeland Security has a Columbia Regional Airport employee in custody.
And new information that may end the controversy surrounding a sewage treatment plant. KOMU 8 News at 6 starts now.
From Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News at 6.
We have an update tonight on a mid-Missouri employer still struggling to find a buyer to keep it afloat. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Megan Maleras. Mid-America Brick in Mexico is in debt and needs someone to come in and buy it out. KOMU 8's Jonathan Deutsch tells us what he found out at its offices today.
Brittany, Megan, both employees working at the company's office today refused to speak to me on camera. When asked, they only told me information that was already public. What we know is that Mid-America Brick filed for bankruptcy in mid-February. It is currently $16 million in debt. Mid-America Brick hired a St. Louis-based investment banking firm to help market the company. Nearly 50 jobs are at stake if the company can't find new investors, but people still want to work there.
Big companies usually just think about the big people that are up at top. They think about what's in their own pockets. So I would really like them to think about the people that need the job, people that need to work, people that need to survive, feed their families. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my family back on track.
When it opened in 2010, Mid-America Brick estimated it would produce nearly 60 million bricks annually.
Thanks, Jonathan. A few state career centers throughout Missouri are getting ready to close in a few days.
Folks who rely on the centers may need help to look elsewhere. KOMU 8's Christine Roto shows us how those in Missouri are handling the closures.
Missouri Career Center, this is Cindy. How may I help you?
Cynthia Higgins is the director at the Missouri Career Center in Moberly. She says folks in the area rely on them for help finding jobs, getting back to school, and reporting unemployment.
Doing okay, good.
But out of 43 state career centers throughout Missouri, 5 are set to close in just 4 days.
Certainly we understand that this will create some hardships for people, but once again, if we don't have the funding to operate all 43, we have to, like a family, we have to tighten our belt.
Cynthia says she doesn't know why they would close the Moberly Center when the nearest center in Columbia is nearly 40 miles away.
It takes me nearly $10 in gas money to make the round trip from the Columbia Career Center to the Moberly Career Center. Now that may not seem like a lot, but when you have to go in every 4 weeks to report unemployment and don't have a steady income, it can really add up.
A lot of people here does not have no car, no gas, no transportation, anything, and me, I'm just trying to hopefully to find another job here.
But John Frigere from the Department of Economic Development says it depends more on federal funding than state funding. He says the federal sequestration cuts have made it nearly impossible to keep all the centers open. So he says they chose to close the centers in the areas that serve the least amount of people. Christine Roto, KOMU 8 News, Moberly.
Higgins says she hopes the department can set up a satellite office in Moberly with a computer so people can at least come in to report unemployment. But she also said she doesn't know if that's going to happen.
Well, it's been kind of a gloomy, dreary day across mid-Missouri today. Lots of extra cloud cover out there. And, of course, those periods of on and off showers. And those showers are going to stick around with us here for your evening hours and into your Saturday as well. Now, temperature-wise, we are quite a bit below average. We should be normally around the mid-60s right now, but most of us are in the upper 40s, lower 50s around the viewing area. 48 right now in Osage Beach, 51 here in Columbia and Jefferson City, 57 up in Macon and Moberly. Now, we're going to be sticking around those upper 40s, lower 50s here for the rest of your evening hours. So definitely just grab a jacket and an umbrella as you're heading out the door. And more rain, of course, is on the way for tomorrow, but we'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit.
Tonight, we learned that federal officials arrested a TSA agent at Columbia Regional Airport for stealing.
The arrest happened around 7 yesterday morning, but we're still working to get more details. So far, we know the suspect is 32-year-old Eric Richard Dunlap of Jefferson City. The Department of Homeland Security is investigating the case right now. KOMU 8's Danielle McCarthy joins us live from the airport with the details she's been able to gather so far. Danielle?
Department of Homeland Security officials arrested Eric Dunlap here at the airport yesterday morning. Police say that arrest comes after what was called an honesty check. As part of the honesty check, a DHS official posed as a traveler and handed a bag over to Dunlap, saying he found it in the airport. Officials planted $500 in the bag and waited to see what Dunlap would do with it. Police say he tried to steal it Before DHS officials arrested him and took him to Boone County Jail, authorities set up the sting because they already suspected Dunlap of stealing from baggage based on passenger complaints. Police say this is the first time they've heard of something like this happening at the airport and that travelers should not worry about it happening again.
I don't think they should be worried. I mean, the vast majority of the TSA agents are doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, following procedures. And in this case, that's why they have these honesty checks, to find the ones that aren't.
Dunlap has posted his $4,500 bond and is out of jail now. The prosecuting attorney in Boone County has not yet filed charges against him. Reporting live in Columbia, Danielle McCarthy, KOMU 8 News.
Thanks, Danielle. A federal court upheld a Missouri law banning protests within 300 feet of funerals. This law mainly focuses on protests by the Westboro Baptist Church. Last year, Columbia resident Sterling Wyatt's funeral was protested by the group. However, the court did strike down a law that would have kept protesters farther away. That decision stems from a pair of 2006 Missouri laws passed after protests began happening at military members' funerals.
Mississippi River floodwater is going down at the last of the big trouble spots around the state. Take a look. This is what the scene was like in St. Louis earlier in the week as the Mississippi River flooded. The National Weather Service reported the river crested more than 10 feet above flood stage in Cape Girardeau during the flooding. The river water level is dropping, but the river is expected to stay above flood level for the next month in some towns.
Former Missouri Congressman Todd Akin has broken his silence 8 months after a comment about rape derailed his 2012 campaign and his reputation. Akin's comments sparked a political firestorm at the height of the 2012 election, in which he was seeking re-election after serving as a U.S. representative for 12 years. Causing the controversy was this interview on the Jaco Report on Fox 2 News in St. Louis, in which Akin commented on the legitimacy of rape. In his latest interview, here's what he had to say about those comments.
Would you take those 6 seconds back if you could?
Oh, of course I would. I've relived them too many times, but that's not reality. All of us are fallible. You know, we make mistakes, say things the wrong way. I've relived that moment many, many times.
Akin said he's not looking to get into politics anytime soon, but that he is not ruling anything out.
A couple weeks ago, KOMU brought you the story of a high school basketball player that led his team to a state title. It came close to a year after he survived a deadly car accident that killed the other driver. In this week's Your View, we examine the often sensitive process of finding the positive side of a tragedy.
Reporter Andrew Carter told the story of Salisbury basketball player Austin Francis, injured in a car crash more than 9 months ago.
Austin's lucky to be alive. The accident ended at this spot where the car burst into flames.
Carter profiled Francis's path to recovery and later to a state championship. But readers on our Facebook page saw the story differently, holding Francis responsible for the death of a loved one. Said reader Ashley Lowe, "I'm sorry, but I cannot be happy for that boy who killed one of my good friends." Kay Allen added, to add more insult to an already atrocious situation by doing a story on how much he has overcome, sick. KOMU 8 News Director Stacey Wolfel says the reaction didn't surprise him.
There are people who won't like this because they feel like they're the victims, that the person who died here isn't coming back and that there's nothing that can make up for that. And so they're hurt, and they're particularly hurt by seeing the surviving person on television.
Carter says he made sure to confirm there was no foul play involved, including alcohol consumption or reckless driving.
The police said that both cars crossed the center line and that it was no one's fault.
Carter also spoke with the victim's brother, who says Francis wasn't at fault.
Sometimes it kind of feels like maybe God took my brother Philip so that Austin could live. Maybe he has greater things planned for Austin, that sort of thing.
Wolfel stands by Carter's reporting, saying it's important to share stories that can inspire and engage viewers.
People are interested in stories like that because they put themselves in that situation. What would happen to me if I were like that? How would I deal with it and handle it?
Why not do a story about someone who is trying to live their life to the fullest after such a tragic event and getting a second chance?
How do you think KOMU should cover sensitive stories like this one? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Then watch Friday nights at 6 and 10 as we report your view of the news.
A controversial issue with a sewage treatment plant may soon come to an end.
How science may put a rest to an environmental concern for residents.
And more rain is on the way for tomorrow, but we have a pretty nice warm up for the start of this next work week. We'll talk all about it in my full forecast after the break.
Now, your live Doppler 8 First Alert weather.
Welcome back. It's 12 after 6 here on your Friday evening. We're taking a live look over Columbia Regional Airport. We have lots of raindrops on our camera out there right now. And of course, we experienced lots of rain throughout the entire day today. So far, we picked up 1/10 of an inch of rain here in Columbia. And if we head...
If she picks B, I'll go with A.
Answer should be B. Yep. The other ones were rain and hail.
Oh. All weather related.
Something new every day.
Something phobia, right?
Big story. Well, it started with Save Blue Spring Creek, a sewage treatment plant unified a community to combat a fear of environmental damage.
Next, see how science may calm concerns.
The Rocky Mount Sewer District is moving forward with its plans to build a sewage treatment plant.
But it is still a point of contention for some residents. In this 8 Goes Green report, Nicole Cartmel explains a little more about the science behind the system.
Lick Branch Cove is often a weekend and summer getaway.
They're here for fun, recreation, fishing, and enjoyment.
And Rocky Mount Sewer District is trying to keep it this way, but cleaner. The district plans to build a plant that uses air mixed with microorganisms to treat raw sewage to a level that's safe to re-enter the environment. The amount of drainage from the system back into the creek would be about the equivalent of turning on your garden hose.
It's all treated and it'll be coming out 98% pure water, drinkable water. So that's the difference. Right now, it's probably terrible.
But some are worried about the creek and this discharge emptying into their cove. For them, the issue is having the plant in their backyards.
I support the idea of a sewer system. We just think there's a better place to discharge it. We're trying to clean up the cove. We don't think putting the water back into the cove is a good idea for the environment.
But with a permit in hand from the State Department of Natural Resources, the district will take the next steps in the construction of the plant. Nicole Cartmel, KOMU 8 News, Morgan County.
The Department of Natural Resources has found that the construction of a sewer treatment plant for this area will have a positive impact on the water quality, and the department said it doesn't expect any adverse side effects from the plant. We've been covering the Rocky Mountain Sewer District's controversial plan to construct a sewage treatment plant in the region since January, so here's a brief recap on what has happened so far. The Rocky Mountain Sewer District has been trying to get a sewage treatment plant since 2003, but this past January, residents of the region developed concerns over the plant being built along the local Blue Spring Creek, fearing the discharge would lead to environmental concerns and decreasing property value. But in March, the location was moved so that the treated water would flow into Lick Branch Cove.
Back in January, the DNR denied the request made by the district to allow discharge to go into Blue Spring Creek. The district was given the option to allow the water discharge to flow into the Osage River, but in March, the district moved it to Lick Branch Cove. The district is under deadline to build before June 30th, otherwise it will lose funding options. Big Shell is headed to the Big Apple.
Hear from the former Mizzou star next in sports.
Rob Zastryzny pitching for Mizzou. We'll have highlights for you at 10. For now, that's sports.
Gold things like chains and rings come after fortune and fame.
See how one man is switching the roles after the break. Well, there is a wealthy man in India who says he has two obsessions, having a lot of gold and becoming famous. And now he's both, kind of. He's had a solid gold shirt made for himself, and it could be one of the most expensive shirts in the world at a cost of $250,000. 15 goldsmiths worked 16 hours a day for 2 weeks to make the shirt.
Wow. Here's a look at what we're following for KOMU 8 News at 9 and 10. The Columbia Police Department looks to educate people on drunk driving.
And the Missouri Senate is considering a bill allowing people to keep guns in cars on business property. But where do you draw the line between gun rights and public safety? We'll take a look at 9 and 10.
And here's a quick recap of your weather. Tonight we'll be sticking around those upper 40s, lower 50s with those on and off showers out there. The showers stick around with us for tomorrow as well. We'll get to a high back right in the upper 50s, very similar to where we were today. But the good news is for your Sunday, we should stay dry for the first half of our work weekend. We'll be back into those mid to upper 70s with a chance for some showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday.
All right, so tomorrow may not be as pretty, but Sunday is the day this week to get out and enjoy it.
A little cloudy, but 70s are fine with me.
All right, thanks, Tori. Have a great night.